Andrea. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. How fantastic to be here in the beautiful West Yorkshire sunshine. See, absolutely extraordinary. Lovely to see you. It must be the safest place in West Yorkshire here. Thank you all very much for coming along. And this is the beginning, the launch of a fantastic programme that we have in this government that we're very proud of to recruit a big new wave of police officers across our country. And I want to say a big thank you to all those here, all those who are signing up, and everything that you're going to do. And this is part, as you may know, of a big effort by this government to deliver on the priorities of the British people. And as you may have seen yesterday, I hope you saw it, there was a big announcement about more spending for the NHS, 20 new hospital upgrades on top of the 34 billion that we're putting in to the NHS of new money. We are levelling up education funding around the country so that all schools get an uplift, both primary and secondary schools. But in my view, policing safe streets is the absolute bedrock of society. It's what drives a successful and productive economy. It gives people the confidence to invest, to improve their neighbourhoods. Safe streets are absolutely vital for our country, and it is you in the police who are delivering safe streets. And I absolutely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do. I used to be Mayor of London, and I was effectively I was Police and Crime Commissioner for London, and I know the incredible work that the police do. And the most important thing I think politicians can do is back the police, give you the top cover for what you do, whether that's ensuring that you have the proper legal protections for important things like stop and search, or above all, making sure that you have the funding that you need. And this programme, as you know, is just the beginning, the first 6,000 of a programme to recruit 20,000 more police officers. And are you guys new recruits? Fantastic. Thank you very much for what you're doing. Thank you. And everybody's learning the caution. Do you know the caution? You know what you have to say when you call someone? You do not have to say anything. Is that right? But anything you say. No, but if you fail to mention something which you later rely on, hang on, let's get this right. Can you remember it? They all know it. Which you later rely on in court, may be taken into account. Anyway, you get the gist. And it's part of the training of the police in a law-abiding country that we know people's rights and we give them their rights. And it's part of the trust between the public and the police. And it's absolutely vital that the public has that trust in the police. And I think the police in our country have a unique relationship with the public. It's quite unlike what you find in many other countries around the world. And I'm immensely proud of the way we do it and of our record in bringing crime down. And we want to go on, as I say, to recruit another 20,000 officers in this country. And I hope you think that that is the right thing to do. And yes, of course, I understand that crime is changing and crime is now a lot more online. But I think people in this country want to see police officers out on the streets, spreading that sense of reassurance, making sure that everyone in their neighbourhood feels safe and looked after, and we are going to insist on that. And this first push will cost, as Sajid Javid announced yesterday, £750 million for the first wave. There will be more to come. And I just want to make a quick point about spending money in this country, which is that there are some people who are now suggesting that we should spend £1 billion more a month, not £750 million, but £1 billion more a month to stay in the European Union beyond October the 31st. And I have to tell you, I don't think that would be a good use of public money. and I'm going to make sure that we don't have that unnecessary delay. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that this country comes out of the EU on October the 31st. But unfortunately, Parliament voted yesterday effectively to scupper our negotiating power and to make it much more difficult for this government to get a deal. So what I want to do now is to really give the country a choice. We either go forward with our plan to get a deal, take the country out on October the 31st, which we can, or else somebody else should be allowed to see if they can keep us in beyond October the 31st. And I have to tell you, I don't think that would be the right way forward. And I think if people really think that this country should stay in the EU beyond October the 31st, then that really should be a matter for the people of this country to decide. Because at the moment, what Parliament is voting for, or Parliament voted for yesterday, was a system by which the EU itself would decide how much longer we had to remain in. And I, for the life of me, cannot think that is the right way forward. So all I can say, and I hate banging on about Brexit, I don't want to go on about this anymore, and I don't want an election at all. I don't want an election at all, but frankly, I cannot see any other way. The only way to get this thing done, to get this thing moving, is to make that decision. Do you want this government to take us out on October the 31st, or do you want Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party to go to that crucial summit in Brussels on October the 17th, effectively hand over control to the EU and keep us in beyond October the 30th. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm sorry to bring this painful subject up this afternoon, but that is the reality of what we face. And for me, there can be only one way forward for our country. I think what the people of this country want us to see is the government of this country focusing not on Brexit. That's been going on for 3 years. I think the people of this country want to see us focusing on their priorities and their needs. And I think they want to see people like you serving police officers, men and women, being allowed to get out on the streets and do your job. And they want to see a government that funds you properly and allows you to get on and do that and directs all their attention and all their concern on that priority. And I can tell you that is what I want to do. But we must settle this EU debate. We must come out of the EU on October the 31st, and then I want to get on and deliver all the priorities of the British people. And as I say, policing, making our streets safer, that comes first, and that is the top priority of this government. So thank you all very much for what you're doing. I'm sorry to have tested you on the caution and got it, and myself got it wrong. But you are going to go on, you guys have fantastic careers as police officers, and it's a wonderful, wonderful job. And I know that you will find it immensely rewarding. Thank you all very much for coming along this afternoon. I think I'm going to take some questions from the media. There they are. They've been patiently waiting at the back. I'm going to go to Andy Bell of Channel 5. And then Paul Brand of ITV. Andy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Prime Minister. Hello. Thank you, Prime Minister. Aren't people entitled to ask, if your own brother can't back you, why should anyone else?
Well, actually, my own brother, as you'll have seen from what he said this afternoon, well, first of all, I want to pay great tribute. Andy's asking about my brother Joe, who is a fantastic guy and was a brilliant minister for science, for universities, did a fantastic amount of good work for us, for this country in that area. Now, Joe doesn't agree with me about the European Union because it's an issue that obviously divides families and divides everybody. But I think what Joe would agree is that we need to get on and sort this thing out. And I think what Joe certainly would agree, and I think he said as much this afternoon, is that this government has exactly the right priorities when it comes to dealing with the issues that really matter to the British people. I'm talking about making our streets safer, I'm talking about improving our hospitals and improving our education service. So I thank Joe for all the work that he's done and for the support that he's given for our domestic agenda. And I'm going to go now to Paul Brand of ITV.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, if your own brother has lost faith in your plan...
I'm sorry, go on.
Related topic, Prime Minister, but a different question. If your own brother has lost faith in your plan, surely you'll have to be the next member of the Johnson family to resign.
Well, my intention, as I said just now, and I'm absolutely determined to do this, is to deliver on the mandate of the people. We have a democracy in this country, and the way we work is that when the people of Britain take a decision, parliamentarians are sworn to uphold that decision, and that's what we all said we would do several times in the House of Commons to respect the result of the 2016 referendum on the EU, when people voted by a very substantial majority to leave. We all said we would do it, and that is what I want to do. And I have to say, I think there is a stark contrast between my approach and I hate to be party political, but that is the sad reality, the approach of Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party, because at the moment he won't. Not only are they voting to make it impossible for this country to decide on its own to leave the EU, but they're also making it possible for the people of this country to have an election. I think he must be the first leader of the opposition in history to refuse to have an election. In fact, it seems to me to be a breach of his job description. He's part of the opposition. He should be actively seeking an election. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. But my job is to get us out on October the 31st, and that is what we're going to do. Beth Rigby of Sky News.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, when you became Prime Minister, you said you would unite our country. Instead, you're splitting your party, and now even your own brother feels he cannot serve under you. If your own brother doesn't trust you to act in the national interest, why should all of we?
Well, as you'll have seen what Joe had to say about our agenda, and he's a strong... Look, people disagree about the EU. But the way to unite the country, I'm afraid, is to get this thing done. That is the reality. The longer this goes on, the more dither and delay we have from Parliament, inspired, I'm afraid, by Jeremy Corbyn, the worse this thing will be. What people want to see is a resolution, and they want to see us getting this thing done. And that's what we're going to do. Kate Ferguson from The Sun.
Hello, Prime Minister. Can you make a promise today to the British public that you will not go back to Brussels and ask for another delay to Brexit?
Yes.
And sorry.
I can.
And would you
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
So you would resign first, Prime Minister, rather than go and ask for that delay?
It costs £1 billion a month. It achieves absolutely nothing. What on earth is the point of further delay? I think it's totally pointless. Claire Ellicott from the Daily Mail.
Thank you. Your own Chancellor has become the latest Tory MP to voice concerns about your purge of 21 rebels from the party. Do you regret your actions? Were they too hasty? And is there a way back for those MPs?
Well, let's be clear what we want to do. I think what this country wants and what people in Parliament want is to see us coming out of the EU on October the 31st. And I'm afraid that the bill that was passed yesterday, alas, really makes it much more difficult for us to negotiate. And what it says, it actually draws up the MPs wrote a letter that the Prime Minister would have to give to Brussels, demanding an extension beyond October the 31st, and then Brussels, the EU, would decide how long the UK was going to remain in the EU. And with the best will in the world, I cannot see how that is democratic unless that is put to the British people. I think if that is really what Parliament wants, to give the EU this power to keep us in the EU themselves, and to scupper the negotiations, then I think there should be a clear choice for the country. And we should decide, who do you want to be at that crucial summit on October the 17th? Do you want Jeremy Corbyn going there with his plan to extend and delay and keep us in the EU forever and a day? Or do you want to settle this thing, bring us all together and deliver on the mandate of the people? And that is what I will do. So for me, that is very, very clearly the way forward. And that's the point that I made to all my colleagues and friends in Parliament. And no one, of course, discipline is always tough. But here we are amongst a body of men and women who know that sometimes you have to administer discipline, and you have to be very clear about your message, and that's what we're being. So, Kate Proctor in the Guardian, from the Guardian.
Thank you, Kate Proctor from The Guardian. Prime Minister, exactly when are you going to hold an inquiry into Islamophobia in the Conservative Party that you promised to do on live television? Well,
we are going to have as I think Sajid Javid and I agreed, we're going to have a general inquiry into all manner of racism and hate crime as soon as that can be got underway. But I have to tell you, we have a zero tolerance policy towards Islamophobia and all manner of hate crime and prejudice in the Conservative Party, as you can imagine. I think that is going to be it. I'll take one more there and one more there. You say no.
Dennis Staunton from the Irish Times. You, over the past few days, have been quoting the late Reverend Ian Paisley, who spoke about how his people were British but his cows were Irish, as justification for the idea that there could be a different agri-food regulatory regime in Northern Ireland to the rest of the United Kingdom. Could you foresee a different regulatory regime for anything else in Northern Ireland except agri-food?
Well, you're right. That was what Ian Paisley said. He said that of Northern Ireland, he said the people were British, but the cattle were Irish. And in that idea, there is the germ of a solution to the question of cross-border frictionless cross-border movement across the Northern Irish border. We do want to minimise all theoretical checks as well as practical checks. We think all practical checks can, of course, be taken away from the border. There's no need for, and the UK will not be instituting any border checks of any kind in Northern Ireland. But we also think there is scope for recognition of the practical reality on the ground in the agri-food sector in Northern Ireland, and but any extension, all that, it depends entirely. I've got to be and indeed whether it could be extended to any other sectors, that depends entirely on democratic control by the people of the United Kingdom. Do you see what I mean? That's the crucial thing. I'll take one more. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's Jessica Shankelman here from Bloomberg News. You've talked today, Prime Minister, about the need for trust. And Jeremy Corbyn says he can't trust you to hold an election before the Brexit date and before the EU Council. Can you today give a commitment that you would...
Right. Well, is that his line today? Aha. He can't... Right. This is a new one. If I understood it correctly, you just said that the leader of the opposition says he cannot trust me to hold an election before Brexit. Right. Well, I said about 5 times in Parliament. How many times I have to say it? We want an election on October the 15th. October the 15th, and indeed, earlier if he wants. Let's crack on with it. I really don't see how we can have a situation in which the British ability to negotiate is absolutely torpedoed by Parliament in this way, with powers of the British people handed over to Brussels so that we can be kept incarcerated in the EU without that actually being put to the people in the form of a vote. And time and time again, Jeremy Corbyn. Don't worry, I'm going to end very soon. You're right. Oh, that's all right. I'm so sorry. Okay, I think that is a signal for me actively to wind up. Okay, time and time again, Jeremy Corbyn has said he wants a vote, and he said he wants an election, and here he is. He's got an election absolutely being offered to him, and for reasons I don't quite follow, he seems to be opting out. I leave you to speculate as to why he may be reluctant to do it. But it seems to me if he wants to avoid a no deal Brexit, or if he wants to avoid a hard Brexit, then he should believe in himself to go to Brussels on that crucial summit on October the 17th and sort it out. That seems to me to be the obvious thing. But I think what we should do is have an election and decide who goes to get there. Okay, folks, thank you all very, very much. And thank you all for listening so patiently for so long. Congratulations to all of you on what you are doing. And thank you very much for all that you are going to do, to all the risks that you're going to take, running towards danger rather than away from it, to make our country and our society safer. Thank you very much. Thank you.